To Nicaragua now, where President Daniel Ortega is blaming pro-democracy protesters for the recent wave of bloodshed. Demonstrators ramped up calls for Ortega to step down yesterday, despite his refusal to do so.
Hundreds have died in violent clashes since April. The actions of police and paramilitary groups have sparked international condemnation. For more on this, we want to bring in Suyen Barahona Cuan. She's the president of the Sandinista Renovation Movement. That is a political organization, and she is joining us now from Nicaragua's capital city of Managua. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie and Vladimir, for this opportunity to share about what's happening in Nicaragua, the critical situation that we're facing.
So what is your reaction, Suyen, to President Ortega's recent remarks blaming pro-government protesters for the wave of violence in your country?
Yes, we are facing in Nicaragua one of the most brutal dictatorships in its history, even worse than the Somoza dictatorship, which he fought against. This is a dictatorship that is constantly lying, as we saw yesterday. Mr. Ortega has not allowed for any interview nationally or internationally until yesterday. And what he did yesterday was lie cynically about what is happening in Nicaragua. There were several lies. One is saying that the paramilitaries were led and controlled by the opposition, that there has not been any persecution against the church, which there is currently, and that he has never fired against any protest. We have right now around 350 people who have been killed by the regime, by this brutal dictatorship, using the police force, but also paramilitary, irregular paramilitary groups organized by the regime to exercise repression against those of us who have been protesting peacefully. There are accounts of torture. There are thousands of demonstrators who have been detained in clandestine detain centers. There have been attacks on protesters who have been refuged in churches, such as the case of students from one of the national autonomous university, UNAN, where they were shooting for 24 hours and killed 2 students who were in the church with other 200 people who were basically seeking refuge from the paramilitary groups. We have more than 22 minors who have been killed. So as you can see, the interview that Mr. Ortega did yesterday was filled with lies. The church is now facing brutal attacks. They have been the mediators in a dialogue that Daniel Ortega has discontinued because he lacks the political will to seek a peaceful solution. Demonstrators are demanding 2 things, basically: justice for those who have been killed, who have been tortured, who have been disappeared, and democracy. That is why we are demonstrating massively in the streets in these 3 months. Our demands and the evidence of the use of paramilitary forces, the persecution against the church is through thousands of videos in the social networks, but it's also documented by international human rights organizations like the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights and the UN High Commission for Human Rights, they have condemned that the violence has come from the state and have demanded that Ortega dismantles these paramilitary groups and really and that he really takes on the recommendations of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, so that we can find a peaceful solution.
So yeah, let me ask you this question though. Like you mentioned, there have been months and months of protests. They're becoming more and more violent. The economy has fallen apart. There are concerns now that we may see people fleeing the country en masse. We may have another a migrant crisis here. But Ortega is refusing to step down. He's refusing to hold early elections. So then what's your strategy moving forward? How are you going to increase the pressure on him?
We feel that it's important for Nicaraguans to continue demonstrating peacefully nationally, but it is fundamental and crucial that we continue to receive international condemnation and support for the Nicaraguan people, like that which was expressed by 21 nations in the OAS. Demanding that Daniel Ortega comply, with the Inter-American organization, the Inter-American organization charter, and so we feel it is a combination of things. The demonstrations and the pressure that we can exercise nationally, peacefully, but also we need for the international community to express full condemnation and to continue also pressuring Daniel Ortega so that he commits to find a peaceful solution in the dialogue. We know it is very difficult, and we know that he will continue to insist that he will remain in power until 2021, probably 10 minutes before he resigns, because that is what dictators do.
Suyen Barahona Cuan, thank you so much for taking time to share your perspective with us. We appreciate it.